Hello, BookTube. Greetings from frigid Lincoln, Nebraska. Frigid, I say. It's 20 degrees. It's been colder, but it started out at 47 today, and we got a little snow that turned into, or a little rain that turned into snow. So winter has arrived again. I don't know how long it's going to last, but for the time being, it's wintry here on the Great Plains. I'm going to try this video with my microphone this time after a couple of tries that didn't work out too well. So I'm going to jump right into the reason for making this video. I'm really excited to announce a new reading event. February Fantasy Stories, created by Scott and Becky Bryant at the Bookish Bryants. It's much like the New World's November, which was a short science fiction stories readathon, but this will be short fantasy, short stories, novellas, and novels up to 250 pages. Really excited to be taking part in this event. I haven't read a lot of fantasy, but I hope to change that. We're going to be reading these stories the entire month of February, and the month is going to be divided into 4 genres. During the first week, we're going to be reading classic fantasy. These are going to be fantasy stories that were published before 1970. And I plan on reading stories from Ursula K. Le Guin's collection, The Wind's 12 Quarters. Particularly the stories in that collection, The Word for Unbinding and The Rule of Names. Now, these 2 stories are precursors to her Earthsea cycle. They sort of set the stage. I read the first 2 Earthsea novels last year, and I have the third, so I'm going to be jumping into that soon. So I'm happy, really excited to be getting these stories in. And then week 2 is going to be Swords and Sorcery. I'm going to chant my mantra here and read stories that a person my age who considers himself to be well-read should have read a long time ago. And those are the Conan stories, the original Conan stories by Robert E. Howard. The first, I'm going to read at least The Phoenix on the Sword and The Scarlet Citadel. These were published in the pulp magazines back in 1932 and 1933. If I have time, I'll go on and read a few more, but I'll get started with those. Week 3 is going to be dark fantasy. Now, the boundaries between some of these genres are a little fuzzy, to say the least. I think whatever you feel would fall into these categories is okay. The aim is not rigid rules here. The Bryants are just trying to get people to start reading fantasy stories and get interested in fantasy. That's the main thing. So, dark fantasy, I'm going to be reading the first book in the Elric saga by Michael Moorcock. Elric of Melniboné. A lot of booktubers have been talking about the Elric saga during the past year or so, at least. So I want to see what it's all about. I'm excited to get into this. Finally, week 4 is going to be urban fantasy. Now, roughly speaking, that's modern day stories that include or that feature magical or fantastic elements. And for this week, I'm going to be reading from Jim Butcher's collection of short stories set in the Dresden Files series entitled Side Jobs. And all of these stories, all of these books are on my Kindle. I don't have any paper copies, but they're pretty easy to come by. You can find a lot of them, most of them you can find online. I think I'm going to be having a good time with this event this February. We've got a great list of co-hosts, and I have the honor of being one of them. I want to thank Scott for inviting me. I'm going to name all of our co-hosts here. Apart from the Bookish Bryants, we have Hooked on Books with Chris, The Booklectic, Steve Donahue, Mindy's Book Journey, BNB Books, David Wiley, Michael K. Vaughn, Jason's Weird Reads, The Nerdy Narrative, and, of course, myself. So if you're interested in reading along or taking part in this event, keep an eye on any of the aforementioned channels. The Bookish Bryants intend to put out a kickoff video either right at the end of this month or the beginning of February. So until then, get your TBR together. And for now, that'll do it. Have a good one, BookTube.